but I didn't want to enter.
What's that?
I heard New York.
And what team did Big John play for? The New York Giants. So that will be one I write down. Sorry, Mimi.
That's all right.
She ousted you out. So it's not gonna all right. Is your camera okay, Rob? I see you kind of fiddling around.
Yeah, just...
It gets a little temperamental.
Yeah, so.
All right, so perfect. So welcome to a parking lot, everybody. Congrats, you made it. So we're going to discuss the history of the space, and we're going to kind of spread out. I'll do one round robin with everybody to see what's going on with their devices, and then we'll regroup probably here, wherever that car is going to be leaving from in the back. If there's going to be enough room for us back there. On a weekend, I keep this one very short, so it's a great space for you all to get used to your devices. So welcome to this parking lot. Used to be something relevant to the history of Charleston. What word do you have? And we're going to be talking about an English woman, so I'm excited about that. So, where are we? This used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. Her mansion actually sat in the front of this space, facing East Bay Street, and then Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant over there and came all the way across, and the servant and slave quarters were in the back of the space. That's the layout of the land. So, who the heck were these people? They had a son named Charles, they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Chucks. That's exactly why we look for secondary clues and why we'll always have more communication devices out than just one. So that way we know who is actually coming through. But anyway, the signers of the Constitution were the son and the nephew for South Carolina. That's a big deal for us, but I hate politics more than everybody here. We're going to move on. If I don't bring it up, they're going to do it for me in a very nasty, negative way. So let's talk about Eliza. She's a much better history anyway. Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards. For those of you with communication devices, if you're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, do not expect numbers like 12 and 14 from the colonial days that she came from. Think of today's standards. I say that because her husband was over double her age. By the way, all of the communication devices, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color was George Washington's white horse, like what we did back there with the big red barn. You're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes. This is where I start withholding information on purpose, so that way you all have a genuine experience. So, not to mention we do have a New York, so I'm excited about that. Back to Eliza. She married Charles because her father was over in England, and he thought he was dying. He's trying to bring all of his children home one last time so he could see them. Eliza didn't believe he was dying, so she stayed put and got married. It's 1744. You don't get married in that year to get a green card. We're not a country yet. She did marry him out of love. This is a true love story. Do not poke the bear in this location. You will piss her off and all activity will stop in the event we have anything going on. Anyway, back to Eliza. She was right. Dad didn't die right away. Instead, he started sending her gifts apologetically to where we're standing. One of those gifts happens to be the plant seeds of indigo. You guys have been in town for at least a day that I know of. You've seen the word indigo somewhere. It's a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. That's what we use it for today. When Eliza got her seeds, she didn't know what to do with them. She actually had to learn from her servants and slaves on how to keep it cultivated. It's not always hot here. Then she had to learn how to make the dye. When she did that, she moved into a cash crop plantation just south of here by the Stoner River, got a hold of her father and said, rice plantations are going downhill. We're going to make a killing with this indigo. And now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. This is something absolutely unheard of. So let's get into the weird stuff, because that's the boring business shit of Eliza Pinckney. You guys are all here for the weird stuff. I'm going to go through each set of communication devices and give you a series of questions to focus on. What I will tell you is that do not get discouraged if you're not getting direct answers to your questions. We have at least 7 pieces of communication out here. So maybe you can ask a question. Grace might get the answer. I almost had you guys mixed up. So kind of keep that in mind. We never know where the answer is going to go, which is why I always have a minimum of 2 going out here. But now you guys have emptied my bag. So with yours, here's the fun part about yours. Your 2 devices are going to kind of go in tandem, I hope. So what you need to know is that Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back. The first wife dies in January. 5 months later, he marries the one we just talked about. Both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. Figure out which Eliza we're dealing with by asking for her maiden name. So that is mainly your focus questions, because it will show up on there. We've seen both Eliza maiden names show up there, but with yours, we want you to actually see her initials of ELP in that order. You're going to be the one that actually stays behind, so I can show you how to work that device a little bit further once I spread everybody out. So Elizabeth, you're next. Where's the other red one? So maybe you 2 have the same set of questions. You guys are going to go after Eliza's death. You can ask how old she was, what she died from, where she's buried, what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So those are 4 major questions that we get the answers to. Where's my next set of questions? So that would be Bonnie. and Grace, I'm gonna have to get your name down. I don't know why I keep messing it up. You two have the same type of spirit box as well, so you guys are gonna get like 1 to 2 syllable answers. You're gonna go after what happened to the mansion. If we get the what, then we normally get the when, which is the date. If we get a what, we'll get 2 or 3 numbers out of the date coming up somewhere else. So kind of keep that in mind. And I think that covers all of the communication devices. Any EMF that I need to know about? Nothing coming out of the, where's the other one? Who has the other EMF? So Bill, nothing coming up yet?
Nope, nothing yet.
Nothing yet. All right, so I'm gonna keep Lucas, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to keep Lucas behind, and then everybody else is going to spread out. Again, I'm going to do 1 round robin in here simply because there's so many cars in here, and then we'll regroup up here, and I'll kind of cover the answers of what we actually got. So everybody, let's go ahead and spread out, get those cameras running. Just be mindful of the vehicles in here for those of you with cameras. So if somebody's going to their car, just go the opposite way. You guys got the point. All right, spread out. Let's get to work. Lucas, come over here, buddy. Let me show you how to work this guy. So you should have a full row of letters so far, close to it. So we're going to try to sensitivity real high.
Okay, so the questions were what? Let's go here. The questions are Eliza. Where are you buried? Battle tree?
Eliza, where are you buried?
Well, I asked how she died. President was a pallbearer at your funeral?
Be mindful of the truck that's coming back up. All right.
When I asked where she's buried, it said 3rd. Wasn't the other question, how did you die?
Mm-hmm.
Fire? Who was a pallbearer at your funeral? Eliza, can you tell me what president was a pallbearer at your funeral? What was the other question? There were 4 questions. Where are you buried? How did you die? Who was the president? Pallbearer at your funeral.
The date.
That she died? Eliza, what date did you die? When? Still haven't gotten an answer about what president was a pallbearer at her funeral.
Eliza. Liza.
That
Can you please tell us what president was a pallbearer at your funeral? Eliza, can you tell us that? Can you give us a name? Can you give us his initials?
Wait, take my picture, take a picture of that with me in it. In the frame. The Union? 2 people?
Oh wait, I'm on recording.
Alright guys, let's gather back up to where we started. You got something?
I don't know.
What'd you hear?
So I asked her where she was buried and it immediately said 3rd.
Okay.
I asked her how she died. It said fire.
Okay.
And then I asked her, I can't get anything on
The
who was
date.
the pallbearer. And then where are you buried? And I got 20.
The date.
Oh, the date. That was the date. 20. Where are you buried was 3rd. How did you die was fire.
And it's not always going to be a direct answer to your direct question.
Right.
So again, you have clues in there, they're just not relevant to the questions you asked. So let's put all this together. So let's come over back up to the corner.
Hang on.
You get it?
It's not very clear, but look.
So you guys have a couple of clues of things that are going on. Those of you with the cameras, if you want to give your hands a break, by all means, go ahead and put a stop to them. So James is like, nope, I'm going to film forever. Kind of give your hands a break. We're going to go through the answers, and all of this is going to come to light. Here's what I'm excited about. 3 different people told me that they've heard something relative to a fire, whether it be the word burn, smoke, or fire itself. That's going to make a whole lot of sense here. The number 28. I have to make sure my date is correct, but I want to say that that is part of Eliza's birthday. I want to say it's December 27th or 28th. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. The number 20 is a perfect example of what I call bleed over. So we were just talking about Big John's, and we could have had Pinckney Mansion things show up over there and Big John things over here. We did get the word England on our word list, right? And we got that while we were close to Big John's. So again, Eliza's family is from England, but we also had the number 20 show up over here. That's Big John's jersey number, just so you guys know. His first jersey number in 1947. His second one was 52 and 48. So again, very light, relevant things, but you're seeing how the clues are starting to come together. When 3 people tell me fire, burn, and smoke, I get excited, which means there are other numbers in there. I don't. Remember that app is trying to scare you. So I do want you to put that in the back of your brain. So it is one of those, you'll see like the devil's here and that kind of stupid crap in there. We don't take any of that stuff. Oh, by the way, for those of you with spirit boxes, if you hear, get out, that's not a thing, I promise you. Again, I do this for a living, guys. All those TV shows and movies are like just trying to put the jump scares in you. Let's cover the answers and kind of show you how this all pieces together. And then you guys are going to see like why I do the round robin with everybody. This is Eliza Lucas Pinckney. The reason why I gave Lucas the question about the maiden names, because I was hoping it would have actually shown up. So this is the second wife from Charles back to back. Like I said, the first wife was Eliza Lamb, so L-A-M-B, just like the animal. This wife married Charles at the age of 22. Charles was 45. A creepy age gap back then, a creepy age gap now. Just so you guys have that idea. I'm close to Chuck's age. My oldest daughter is Eliza's age, so that's why it's creepy to me for all of the dads in the room, if you guys get my point. We did not get her initials. This is the only picture of the mansion I know that exists. This is fire damage from the Great Fire of 1861. This happened on December 11th of 1861. So if we get fire, burn, and blaze, which we did, we actually had fire, burn, and smoke. We will get 12, 11, and or 61. I get super excited about the number 61 coming through because that is a very specific number. So again, we've had all 3 numbers show up at the same night along with the word fire when asking about it. So take that for what it's worth. Wow. He's a little angry. See why you pulled us way up here into the corner, everybody? Every tour in town is going to tell you about a great fire in Charleston because we've had dozens. This is the fire that took out the mansion. This is a map of Charleston. So this literally went from one side of the peninsula all the way to the other. You can see how large this fire actually was. So this is about $5 to $9 million worth of damage back then. I don't know what that equates to now because inflation changes daily. So let's talk about the children, which is a question I did not hand out because we're still pretty close to a very tragic date among the children. But I'm going to tell you what I look for when those names show up when I'm going through my spot check. First child you already know about, that's Charles, signer of the Constitution. I didn't know I was going to be screaming over Bobby Brown all night, but whatever. All the adults in the room got that joke. None of the teenagers had even a smirk. Did you guys notice that? Wow, I'm showing my age here today for sure. But anyway, so the next child I talk about is Thomas. He fought in a Revolutionary War battle, shot in his left leg, and captured by the British. When he was released from the British, he was actually left on a cane the rest of his days. You can see the things that I look for when Thomas's name shows up. So that's obviously his name, cane, left leg, shot, Battle of Camden, Revolutionary, all of those kind of terms. The next child I talk about is where we don't poke the bear and why I did not give you those questions. Baby George. You can already see where this one's going. In June of 1747, he was born and he died. We do not know if he was days old or if he was weeks old. that's kind of a creep factor all on its own. But if I were to take my guess based on studying history the way that I do, he was at least a few weeks old because you wouldn't name a child until they were christened. So kind of take that for what it is. The weird thing about George is he does not have a grave, he does not have a headstone. Here's my theory behind that. Back in those days, it would have been a religious practice to allow the family to mummify the baby and keep him right here in the home, in a tomb, waiting for the mother to pass away so he could be buried with her. It's kind of a crazy thought because we just don't do things that way these days. It's going to get even more weird when we talk about Eliza's death. One more child. Her name is Harriet. She married Daniel Horry. Why is that important? Myrtle Beach is in Horry County. That gives you an idea of where she lived, 2.5 hours north of here. So it wouldn't have been a 2.5-hour car ride for Eliza. Lots of letter writing. If we hear from Harriet, which is very seldom, we get words like quill, ink, paper, published, anything relative to letter writing. So that's kind of the mentality around Harriet. It's not very often, maybe once, twice a year tops. Eliza's death, which two people actually had questions on those, on her death. So she was 70 years old when she passed away in 1793. First off, to the teenagers in the group, that is a long time for a woman to be alive during those times. So I'm just going to point that out. She was going to Philadelphia, getting treatments, whatever they thought she had. It turned out to be breast cancer. We didn't know what breast cancer was in 1793. We're going based off her medical records today. She died in Philly, she's buried in Philly. This should raise two questions in the back of your brain. First one is if she's up there, what the hell are we doing down here? I don't take you to actual cemeteries. Reason being, people don't stare at their graves when they're gone. You guys aren't going to do it. You're going to go to your mansions 400 miles away, which is why I bring you to a parking lot. So just kind of keep that in the back of your brain. I do investigate a lot of cemeteries. It's minimal activity at best when I do this 7 nights a week. No reason for me to be taking you to spaces where it's not going to be active at least 5 out of 7 nights a week. The other question is Baby George. If my theory is true, they would have transported him from here all the way to Philadelphia by horse and carriage. For those of you old enough to remember the game Oregon Trail, somebody's going to get dysentery on that trip. Like, that's a long trek. So, who wants to take a guess at who the president was that was the pallbearer at Eliza's funeral? 1793. Where's my history buff? I love that you can't answer. Let me explain. So, there's George Washington. At his own request, wanted to pay homage to Eliza based on her indigo that helped get her country started. I'm excited that you couldn't answer simply because when we got here, I told the entire group, I'm not going to give you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse. I subliminally put George Washington in the back of all of your brains, and none of you gave me the answer. So that's a good thing. You all passed with a fail. So if somebody with a spirit box actually said, it was George Washington, I would take their spirit box and give it to another family member because I don't want somebody repeating all the same shit I've already said, if that makes sense. So again, I do that on purpose. I like to know who I'm working with. So kudos to you for all passing with a fail. Good job. We got to get a smirk out of you somehow. All right. So the next space we are going to an alley that is a very popular ghost tour stop. So those of you with cameras, no reason to be filming in between spaces and creating the Blair Witch Project. So James, by all means, go ahead and turn your camera off.
All right.
When we get into the alley, check it out. Okay. It's all right. Lizzie, you got anything?
I got the number 3.
Number 3. Okay, Mimi?
When we were walking off of that lot, I got she was born here, and then 150,000.
Interesting. I will tell you, so Grace, your number of 85 was off by 1 digit, so it's a close but no cigar. I would have been looking for the number 86 in this particular location if we were going to be looking for something in the 80s. So what's on our word list? Give me the last 3 words. Hit the little white box. The white box to the right of the word. Seed is good. I mean, we're about to talk about dueling, so we got a little bit of a, it's a vague term, but somewhat relevant. Okay, alright, so not super anything exciting yet, but this is Philadelphia Alley. So again, every ghost tour in town comes down here, so if you've already done a ghost tour in Charleston, you're going to hear the story again, just a little bit different, because we're going to go through some of the details because you're ghost hunting. Just remember, we're only here to stir things up so we can go across the street this way, and actually hopefully get the answers to some of the questions you're going to ask later on. So this used to be called Dueler's Alley. So, Rob, you got a problem with the camera again? Okay. By the way, if you have a camera, go ahead and get that thing rolling. So hit that record button, you can hold it like a suitcase and just shoot it straight down the alley. It doesn't need to necessarily be on me, so if you want to hold it in your left hand down at your side, you get a nice clear shot of the alley.
Can I tell you one other thing I heard?
Absolutely.
We provide health care as soon as we...
I like that one.
Yeah.
That's actually going to make sense here in a minute. So, have you been down here before?
Yeah. That's why I wrote it down. I thought that was interesting.
So every tour tells the same story. Here's how it goes. A doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. Those of you listening in on your spirit boxes, if you hear the song Brown Eyed Girl, it's not coincidence. It's part of his name. We get it here all the time, just so you know. But anyway, he moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents, and she has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash flow. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda, get rid of the doctor. So Dr. Ladd moves to Charleston to prove that he's not after her cash. He's going to start a practice down here. So on his way into town, somebody set him up to be robbed and killed, his coachman. So somebody was walking by, and his name is Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph for just a minute because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. We were getting the letters RI all the time from our red spirit boxes, so I bought Lucas's device. I wanted to make sure we were getting the specific letters. And I would tell you that I've had that thing for about 6 months, and about 4 or 5 times we've already had it as I'm talking about Ralph. So you're looking literally for the initials RI in that order. So that's what's going on with your device. But anyway, Ralph tells this guy, he tells the doctor, you don't want to stay here. I know this guy. He's going to try to kill you. He's got a gunman inside. Come with me to 59 Church Street. You can stay there with some friends of mine. They'll rent you a room and you'll be safe. The doctor took him up on the offer, and Ralph and the doctor became friends. The longer the doctor stays here in Charleston, the more money he's making. He's proving his point that he wasn't after Amanda's cash. So Amanda gets wind of this, and she's coming down so they can get married. Dr. Ladd then became known as the Whistling Doctor. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Every haunted city you're ever going to visit in the future is going to have a cliched whistling ghost. We all have one. Ours is a doctor. It's just the way it goes. We're going to talk more about the whistles later on. Ralph and Dr. Ladd go see plays together. They cannot sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's the way the hierarchy works at Charleston. He gets better seats based on his salary. Anyway, they go see Richard III one night, and they're arguing over the new actress on their way home because they couldn't sit next to each other to discuss the new actress. Dr. Ladd thought she was great. Ralph didn't. So they start arguing. Then, Lucas, you just scared the hell out of about 3 people. So anyway, the argument turns into Ralph insulting the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island, and they go their separate ways. You already know that Ralph has friends around town. He goes to his friends at the newspaper, puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a, you're a disgrace to society kind of mentality. So, doctor saw the ad, rebutted with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. Somebody's going to die. So they came down, they took them 10 paces away from each other, they turned, the doctor pointed his gun in the air, and he shot. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight, which is often what happens at a duel. However, Ralph has his one bullet in his flintlock, and he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. Dr. Ladd doesn't die, but he drops to the ground, and his friends picked him up and took him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later, November 2nd of 1786, not 85. So that's where I told you I was looking for 86. He also refused medical treatment when he was in that 10-day period after he got shot. And you have to remember he refused medical treatment because he's a doctor. You have to remember at 1786 and gunshot wounds were a lot different back then than what they are now. He's probably just trying to bleed out the lead poisoning himself. So every ghost story will tell you, listen how quiet it is, listen for the whistles, and they'll tell you to do it on your own. We have 3 cameras running right now, plus my voice recorder. If we're going to get a whistle, it's going to be on one of those 4 devices. It's always this quiet down here, unless there's many tour groups down here, which I'm surprised we have the whole alley to ourselves right now. So even on a busy Saturday afternoon, it sounds just like this, except when there's air conditioning running. So people will tell you to listen for those whistles. There's other accounts that people say that they heard gunshots down here from the dueling. I have no accounts of gunshots on any of my recordings ever coming down here for the past 4 years. So I always, by the way, if you're going to try this on your own and you're going to like come down and look for the whistles for yourself and using your voice recorder from your phone, just keep in mind every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street is going to throw a whistle down the alley. We all do it. I do it every single morning when I'm going back to my car. We're going to let this group pass through and then we'll finish up what this location is. So maybe watch out. We got a whole group coming in behind you. Good evening.
Evening.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's not as hot as it has been, right?
No.
Cooled down a little bit. Yeah. So, ever since I got kicked out of here, I always throw a whistle. Let me show you how I got kicked out of here. That perked your ears up. He's like, yeah, I want to know.
Yeah.
So, this alley didn't go all the way through this way. There was a wall halfway between us and Cumberland Street. The reason why is because this is where they kept the livestock for the city of Charleston. Well, I should say Charlestown. So it was called Cow Alley back then. That means the bricks on the other side, down by Queen Street, are older than the bricks we're standing on. Those bricks are sun-dried bricks from slave labor. When I I first started doing this, I used to take my groups all the way through here and show off the brick with the handprint in it. It's right there in the middle of the alley, so right towards the end. But I will tell you that it was just a matter of history to show how far we've come away from slavery, not as a piece for paranormal evidence. I treat that brick the same way I do a grave. That kid's not there. That's the last place you're going to find him. However, November 26th, 2020, my entire group of 10 is huddled around one brick, waiting for something to happen with the devices that I handed out. I'm trying to shoo them along because I know nothing's going to happen, first off. Secondly, it's right outside the window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. I'm just trying to be respectful. I didn't know I was out of bounds with tours. I was new at this. So the new owner came up and he's screaming. My daughter thought it was great because Dad's getting yelled at. She was on the tour that night. She's about 13 years old. So she thought it was great. But we moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I don't tour on Thanksgiving simply because I worked in retail management for over 20 years, mainly for Walmart. I am never working another Thanksgiving in my life. The next day is November 28th. The date's irrelevant. I'm getting to it. I get a hold of my partner that I had at the time and I told him what happened. And he's laughing. He's like, dude, you're only allowed to go down halfway. That's as far as we're allowed to go. Or you got to reroute the group. So I told my group that night, we're going to reroute, but I never had anything happen at the next location. And I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. We're talking pirates next, in case you didn't pick up on that. So before we left, somebody hears the name Anne on a spirit box. I did not tell them who we were going to be investigating. The famous female pirate, Anne Bonny. So we have a lot of names in this group tonight that are actually relevant to our spaces. So Lucas, Bonnie, you guys are getting the point. But I was like, all right, maybe we have something going on. We go over to where we're going to be going, and I tell them a little bit about piracy that I did know because I didn't have much time to research. And somebody else hears the number 300 come out of their spirit box. I don't know what that means. I researched it the next morning for them. We are there November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. So you guys were kind of like giving me the head nod. I was like, that's pretty cool. I was pissed off. Let me tell you why. As a person with a master's degree in creative writing, I still need facts and data for what we're doing out here. So I like to have tangible evidence to make sure what I'm doing is legit. So I always take off because pirate stories are based off of pirate lore that were written 100 years after the fact of when they actually occurred. Excuse us. So I was kind of a little upset. However, I've read more books on piracy than I ever wanted to in my entire life, trying to make sure what we're going to be doing at the next location is legit. So it is a hit or miss location. We're either going to have a lot going on or nothing. That's just the way the space goes. We're also going to be looking for the evidence from this particular location. So kind of keep that in mind. Things will pop up that you don't know that I've withheld already. Secondly, you're going to learn a lot about pirates that you never knew before. That's the great thing about that particular location. So anything that I need to know, I've seen you two whispering, anything going on with your device that I need to know about?
Oh, the way you buy meat came through,
okay.
And then centralized, which I was like, oh, the wall.
We're right in the middle of the walls.
Yeah, and then I just got we're injured, but I didn't catch the number before that.
You know, we're literally halfway point between where the wall was on the water to where it ended up on Meeting Street. Literally halfway.
Cool.
So centralize that like and the way you buy meat. Remind me to write those down. You were on mute. Did you hear anything, or were you focused on me? Focused on me. Got it. Grace, what about you? Okay. Any other words on there? Jenna? We didn't get the word cow? Cow. This used to be called Cow Alley. It normally shows up on your device.
Record, chlorine, number, Kathleen, ask her,
What was the last one?
seek.
Yeah, a bunch of vague stuff, huh? Yeah, not a whole lot going on there. For those of you with video cameras, if you want to keep them running until we get to the next phase, it's completely up to you. Again, we're only going up and around the corner. We'll stay out of the way of the other tours. Spirit boxes definitely keep a listen in. But you guys ready to learn about some rated R pirates? Anybody got my bad dad joke? Good. Wow. You guys are like super attentive and then don't laugh at my jokes. I don't get it. It's not spelled. He didn't have to. I seen it on the list. I already knew your name before you showed up. I was excited when I seen both of you and
How
Lucas'
many
name show
lines
up.
did you have? That's just like on a tour.
My mother-in-law's name is Stefani.
Really?
All right, let's do some rated R pirates, everybody.
Oh,
We got this.
That's a little bleed over.
Sounds like this guy's weird. Something weird to hear on the radio. And the way we buy meat.
Separate from 75,000, I got more injured.
Yeah, it has been like that for
I'm only going to write this down, so you're getting really good at this. I'm only going to write down the list. So
I'm telling you, we watch Ghost Adventures like literally every night. I know. I heard a comment about Zach. Like, we just.
don't go to my Facebook page. My wife came home from work today. She's like, I saw your name about that.
So what do you think about him? Like, I got an idea, but tell me.
So don't get me wrong. There are some things like when we first started off, he's more,
Sure.
but his dramatic Hollywood bullshit, let's make sure we get the Johnson & Johnson commercial in between,
Yeah.
is really blown up for guys like me that just get under my skin. Like I watched, I don't know, a couple episodes the other day, just running on the Discovery Channel or whatever, and I was like, what? And I hadn't watched it in years because of that exact factor.
Yeah.
But do I think it's straight Hollywood right now? It's just a character.
I think that, like, as the seasons went on, because we watched from start to finish, and I gotta, because now we'll be watching, and I'm like, that's fake,
Well,
more often.
Emotion. And they don't ever continue when actually I think that's the biggest part for me. They never explain it. Sort of, wow, good job. Where did it come from?
Right.
Why?
And he's stuck, because he used to.
Yeah.
He used to.
Right.
And
Nick was with him. And now Nick is even worse.
No, I haven't watched Nick. I like him. Thought he was a good guy. And
Oh, I get to take a break from the back now. Alright, all you weirdos, what do we got? Lizzie,
I heard eyes and sun.
Eyes and Sun. You had the little boy I adored, kind of like that. Bonnie, anything? It's okay. Do you need to maybe switch up with somebody else in your party? So they can listen
Just
to
tell
you?
him like how to hold it. Like I think they're just whenever if we're walking, if you guys are walking in front of us, then you still hold it like that.
Yeah, always hold it that way.
Always hold it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a place where other tours are going to pass by, so just don't record them. Not a big deal. All right, next, any letters coming out of you, Lucas, that I need to know about? I'm looking for AB or MR. Nothing? Grace, anything?
I heard Roger and one day.
That's me excited, everybody. Just so you guys know, like that fist pump in the air, like. So we are going to be discussing the gentleman who created the flag for the Jolly Roger. We get the name Roger here all the time, so I'm pretty excited about that. So, where the hell are we? Every tour that comes through here talks about the same building. By the way, video cameras, if you want to record, by all means do so. Rob's already on it. I'm sorry, Jenna, any word or two that showed up that I need to know about?
Factors and
Wild. Yeah, too big for me. All right, so we're going to be discussing that little tiny building over there with the crosses on it. Those are not crosses, just so you guys know. Those are earthquake bolts. Earthquake bolts, if you're not familiar with those because you're not from here, they're turnbuckles. They go all the way through the roof, and in the event we have another earthquake like what we did in 1886, which we have not, then you can turn those turnbuckles. It tightens up the building so it doesn't incur any further damage. It's a great idea, but it just doesn't work, Chris. I'm sorry. I know you're nodding like, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, it's bullshit. It doesn't work. You guys have seen them all over town in the shape of lion heads and pineapples. It's just part of the Charleston charm. Like, it's not really a thing. Even the apartment building behind the powder magazine, you see those peach bricks? Those are earthquake bolts. So that's what those actually are. We still put them in buildings, believe it or not. They just don't work. Californians, when they're on the tour, they laugh their asses off at me every time I bring them up. But they're part of the reason why we're here. So those earthquake bolts are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston ever put in any building. Reason why? That's the oldest government building in South Carolina. So it was finished in 1713. I would have been more excited about your 13 if it was over here, just so you know. That building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny was coming here to start her new life, which is why we're here. It's what I call a familiar. You guys all watch the TV shows except for Jenna. They use that little Boo Bear buddy with the K2 meter inside and talks to you. They do that with a child ghost because it's something the child would recognize as a toy. It's the same principle at this building, so kind of keep that in mind. This is just something Anne Bonny would recognize from her time era that she was here. So no yawning, Grace. I see it coming. So anyway, I'm going to call it yawns all night long. But let's kind of get into this. The building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? No, not at all. It was like, yeah, it does. But anyway, our history begins right in the middle of it. Try to follow me on this one, guys. There's a lot of twists, and I will slow down on the twists. Remember, it's a female pirate. So kind of keep that in the back of your brain. And I will keep it PG-13, even though we have a bunch of 16-year-olds in the group. Because, again, it's a female pirate. Dads are getting the point. Anyway, 1708, a young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormac. She comes here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. Is everybody with me so far? Okay. The three of them are running away from her father's angry wife. How pissed off was that wife that she booted them out of the country to come here when there's no airplanes? It was by boat, fellas. So be kind to your ladies. They will kick you out of the country up to Canada. So, I only got one chuck when I was from Jenna. But anyway, yeah, I do have jokes all night long, I promise. But anyway, they land in Georgetown. Dad bought a plantation up there. That's between us and Myrtle Beach, in case you're unfamiliar with South Carolina. And Mom dies pretty quickly. That means Dad is now sending young Anne down to Charlestown to be able to sell things from that plantation to keep things afloat. So, hence the familiar building. Anne back home in Ireland was said to be a badass even back then. At the age of 7, 8, 9 years old, remember it's pirate lore, no number's ever going to be exact. They say that she killed a servant with a knife to the belly. I can't tell you how many times I've had servant, knife, and belly show up from 3 different people without the other 2 people knowing what was going on. Keep that in mind. Fast forward, the building's done in 1713. By 1715, pirates are starting to come through Charlestown. Anne is stoked. Why? She's going to fall in love so she can earn her freedom, just like a man. And I said first guy she falls in love with because simply she's going to fall in love with a lot of them. And we're going to cover them all because that's what makes the story so damn interesting. So that's why I'm going to keep it PG-13. First guy is James Bonney. See where I'm getting excited about some of the names that showed up here tonight, James? So got a lot of you guys. James Bonney is a filthy pirate and Dad does not approve. So they ran away to Jamaica, they got married, and Cormac is now Anne Bonny. That's where the pirate name comes from. However, when they get down there, James Bonny is not Captain Jack Sparrow like what she was hoping for. This guy turns out to be a privateer. He's a spy for the British. This is not who she wants. He's a coward. So a few more years go by and she falls in love again. This is John Rackham, but everybody calls him Calico Jack. This is the guy they based your Johnny Depp character off of, just so you guys were wondering who this guy was. He has his own crew. He has his own ship. Anne wants to be part of the crew because she wants to be a pirate, but you can't put a female on a pirate crew. Does anybody know why? Keep it family friendly with the teenagers in the room.
Yep.
What's that?
It's not just bad luck.
It is bad luck.
Okay.
So I just make sure you guys are all paying attention.
Okay.
Because this can be a long one. She's like, oh, kudos, high five.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is bad luck. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and look like my crew, you could be part of the crew. She's okay with this. The reason why, Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy apprentice back home in Ireland to hide her from his wife. So kind of keep that in mind. But she's going to be a female in his quarters. Most of us are adults here. We can understand what that's all going to mean. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a female. And he drops her off in Cuba before she starts the show. So, they'll have the baby here, come back later, and we'll figure it out. She goes and has that baby in Cuba, but returns without a baby. We have no idea what happened to that child. But she also comes back dressed as a female. This makes Jack pretty angry. He's pretty pissed off. And while she was gone, giving birth to his baby, he captured another pirate crew. They're down below deck. She's going to go flirting with that pirate crew because that's who Anne is. We're on guy number 3, in case you guys lost track. Chris, you're like so intrigued right now, I can't even take it, man. You're intense. MR. Just as I was about to talk about MR. So, guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a male, to be a pirate on the crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females, dressed like males, trying to be pirates. Her name, Mary Reed. Which is why he's looking for MR coming up out of there, right as I'm about to bring it up. Can't make this stuff up, guys, I promise. But anyway, Mary Reed went by Mark Reed to become a pirate. Anne and Mary became friends, possibly lovers. We're not going to really know for sure. It's too long ago. But anyway, they become friends, but the British find out where they are. And they send a fleet of ships to come take down one pirate ship. The rumor is that Anne and Mary were the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with 1 bullet flintlocks, probably because they didn't know how to use cannons yet. Obviously, 2 ladies with flintlocks are not going to take on a whole fleet of Navy ships. They get arrested. As they're being arrested, Anne looks at her captain in bow, Calico Jack, and she says, "I'm so sorry to see you here, but if you would have fought like a man, you wouldn't be hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up on your spirit box's communication devices a lot. The judge wants to see the 2 men that fought back so valiantly on their own. He's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken pirates that wouldn't fight. They're dead and gone. The 2 ladies go in front and reveal their gender. He doesn't give a shit if they're female. They're still pirates. He's still going to hang them. "We plead our bellies," was the last they shouted, because you can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail, delays the hanging. Dad is still up here in South Carolina with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne and brings her back home. 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary Reed, because we don't really know. And she has 4 kids, dies at the age of 84. very abrupt ending because we don't know much about her after her pirate career. What happens to Mary Read? 5 months later, she dies in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. You can use your imagination, even though the books will tell you that it was normally something like fever, something very simple. I say let's make it romantic and call it scurvy. Why the hell not? We're talking pirates. So here's the things I left out of here. I'm not going to assign questions like what we did before. We can poke the bear a little bit here to try to get some answers, so I know you were asking about that because this is not a prominent English woman. We do not need to tiptoe around her. I don't know what the heck this person's doing, blinding me to death. So here's what I left out. I left out the name of Anne Bonny's parents on purpose. That's the father and the mistress. I left out the name of the city where Anne grew up in Ireland. So that's an Irish city. I also left out the name of Calico Jack's ship. So that one I left out on purpose. And the color of her hair, if you need something simple, which is red. I'm going to give you that answer. Everything else is fair game. I can't prove what happened to the child, so if you're going to go after that question, I just can't prove whatever you're hearing is a legitimate answer. So we are going to spread out in this location. EMF detectors. Do not get excited with readings in the front half of this, simply because we have 2 electrical poles and the parking meters on the other side. Again, want to keep those cameras running through the entire duration of this location. Lucas, this wall behind me is not your friend. All those leaves are in front of another leaf, which means you're going to get just a bunch of gobbledygook and somebody waving at you. That's not a real person. It's a bunch of leaves. Don't get excited. But everybody else, let's spread out. Let's get this done. Have we heard anything before we spread out? Chicken. She's calling you a chicken. Did you hear that? Maybe. Anybody else hear anything?
A couple of,
What do you got?
right when we got here, simply incredible prices, which I just thought was a weird way to say that. And then Alive and Well, Raven, and St. Louis.
The St. Louis piece could be interesting. I want to see what else pops up with that.
Okay.
So, again, I'm not going to reveal anything until we get something else to kind of verify what's going on with that one. That's an interesting piece. But Raven, that's a weird word to hear on the radio.
I agree.
You're getting a lot of weird stuff. What radio stations are you listening to?
Whatever comes up.
All right, guys, let's spread out. I'm going to start bouncing around with all of you, but I'm going to give you a few minutes to go ahead and get started. Raven, MR, Envoy.
Oh shit. It probably made me stop. He's gonna see your ass.
What?
He's gonna see your ass.
do you think, James? We getting anything on that thing?
I haven't seen anything.
And it is small. I do send those videos up to YouTube so that way you guys can watch them on your TV. I watch them on a computer screen, obviously.
Yeah.
So with yours and Rob's camera, I don't always follow up in real time, simply because it's small. It's real time.
Yeah.
So I watch them later on.
Yeah.
And you almost want to keep your antenna in. You don't want to give yourself
Okay.
too much.
Okay.
You do that, that's when you start getting the buy it now and simple pricing and simply incredible stuff.
I didn't have it out for that.
I
I
know.
promise.
I'm giving an example. That's when you're almost giving yourself too much.
Okay.
So you want to get a little bit of hesitancy about what you're getting, because again, to me, it's like you're meant to hear certain things. But if you're just hearing a radio station, we might as well just leave it on one station and record everything we heard.
Yeah.
So I see a whole list there. What else do you have that I missed?
After St. Louis, Latinas, Redhead, In the House, Darkness and Drown, and then 23.
I like Redhead, obviously, for obvious reasons, based on where we are.
And that, when you were right, I know you said like what the voices and whatever doesn't matter, but we were talking about privacy, and specifically right before you brought up Jamaica, like the Jamaican police started talking. I just thought that was, I don't know.
And I get that a lot. Like, you got the word Latina. So again, I get that a lot while we're over here, and you normally tell me that before I tell anything about those South American islands. So again, people do tell me things, and we do get the word dog or dogs barking coming through a radio station as we're entering this, before I even tell the story. So again, it does occur. And this space can be very weird. It can be very temperamental, or it can be very like she wants to play with us and come out and like give us a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So far with the word Redhead, the number 23 could be something. I'd have to dive in a few things with Calico Jack. I don't think it's relative to Anne Bonny or Mary Reed, just thinking of their birth dates and death dates and that kind of thing. But it might be relative to Calico Jack. The St. Louis thing, it's just interesting. I want to see if something else pops up along with that.
Okay.
Normally what happens when I get a weird city like that, that's not here, obviously, and we're listening to Charleston radio stations, is that a name will show up, and then my next tour has somebody with that name from that city. Like, it's almost like a prediction. So I probably get that 10, 12 times a year, to where it's a weird thing. So it's normally at the Pinckney Mansion site we'll get those things, but it has happened in other locations as well.
Okay.
But again, that's why when you said St. Louis, I'm like, let's see what other names kind of pops up. Like, I want to see what other terms come up. So if we get a weird, and I don't know who's on tomorrow night's tour.
Right.
Again, people book it the same day, so forth and so on. So it could be, the fact that she heard Roger from St. Louis. I might have a Roger from St. Louis. So again, that Roger to me means the Jolly Roger, because we get it here all the time.
Yeah.
But it could be a Roger from St. Louis. It happens, like I said, 10, 12 times a year. So
That's neat. I just find this stuff so fascinating. I don't know.
you know what's funny is I get more questions like about my lifestyle once people realize like this is not a side hustle for me and this is all I do. So it's a matter of like studying each particular device that you guys are using to make sure it's going to be legitimate. There's certain things that I do, like I'll bring a new device into the tour and then take it out 3 or 4 months later because I don't feel like it's super exciting. But that particular camera, when we pieced that together, I was so excited about it. And we were getting orbs left and right, like legitimate solid things. One of the biggest orbs I've ever caught has been here by that wall, and it's bigger than my head, intelligent. So it moved towards me, like appeared in frame, and then went up and disappeared in frame. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, like craziness. But as of late, I haven't caught much with it. So I never know when things are going to pop up. So later on, after I'm done with your guys' data, actually I'm creating a couple of new promotional TikTok videos across the street with some of the things that go on over there. So I'm actually going to be using that camera to create the video. So again, I'm going to have to, when I get back to the office, I'll charge it, go through your guys' data, and then I'll be out here at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, recording stuff to put the TikTok together tomorrow. So,
Cool.
but yeah, my TikToks take forever to build.
I'm sure. Like I don't have a TikTok. I have an Instagram. I kind of tried to get away from socials altogether, but Instagram, I dived
For me,
back
it's all
in.
marketing.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But when I see those videos, like the reels that seemingly look like they're just thrown together, I'm like, no, there's no way. That has to take forever and like 5 people.
I would tell you my minute to minute and a half video, and if I do a voiceover on it, it takes me 2 days to make a minute and a half video. So I was working on piecing some things together for this piece I'm working on, but I want some live shots in there, so I'm going to be doing that tonight. But again, it's going to be little snippets, 1 to 3 seconds, in the 30-minute and the one 90-second video, if that makes sense. So again, it's just a matter of piecing it all together and doing it the right way, adding the right music, making sure it's copyright free, making sure my links are all over everything. It's starting to bring in business, so I'm just going to continue doing it. So,
it's where those things are work, but for things like this, it's such a good thing to have. I'm a teacher, and we don't need social media.
Right,
It's
right.
almost better if we don't have it, but
Yeah, for me, like the reels and Facebook and just keeping up like on your guys' comments and stuff like that. Like, this is literally taking like 70 to 80 hours of my week.
yeah.
You know, just to keep up and do the tours and do my research and create more, you know, podcasts and blogs. Like, it's constant. It's
Right. I
can
constant
imagine,
all the
yeah.
time. So that's why I
Sure.
got an office down here. So while the wife's sleeping, I can get as much work done as I can. There's a podcast recording room.
Oh.
I mean, I do my voiceovers and stuff. But yeah, I just stay at the office till probably 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I go home, take care of the dogs, and she goes to work, and I go to bed.
There
So
you go.
you sleep, because he does night shifts sometimes. How long do you typically let yourself sleep during the day?
5 to 6 hours.
Okay.
So I wake up by 10 and 11 to make sure, you know, the dogs are good and all of that. So
Do y'all have any younger children, or
My
are
kids
they
are older.
Okay.
yeah, and they live with their mom in Myrtle Beach. So
Okay.
so it's just me and my wife and the 3 dogs.
We have 3 dogs.
Mhm.
So do you have many wiener dogs?
We have 2. We have 2.
3.
I want another one. Our
No,
other
you
is a
don't.
husky. I know. Once you get one, I knew I was in trouble.
Later on, I'll show you a picture because all 3 of them are different. So they're all
Yeah.
different coats.
Yeah.
And they're all different
awesome.
Oh my
ages and
god.
crazy.
Mhm.
So
We are
let me follow up with everybody else. All right.
I've heard 2 things. Salt and a honey.
nerd account and love it.
Oh my god, yeah.
Are you having fun?
Yeah, it's cool. What is it? Anne Bernay?
And
Bonnie?
something. I can't remember.
Bonnie?
I can't remember why.
I'm just gonna call her ass out.
This wall is creepy.
Should I do an air intake? Like,
Yeah. And did you get around with all of the men? Did you fall in love with a lot of men?
what happened to your baby? What did you do with your baby, Anne? Did you leave your baby on a beach? Did you give your baby up for adoption? What did you do with your baby? Anne, are you here?
Got a couple of little things, nothing where I'm like super excited about. Anything crazy on your end? Any other words I need to know about?
Was down on a beach in Sorrow.
Sorrow?
I asked her what she did with her baby, and then she got.
Was down on the beach.
Was down on the beach. Again, I can't prove any of it, so So here's a couple of little things that I'm excited about. We did get the phrase redhead. I was kind of pretty excited about that because it's obviously we didn't get just the word red. And I don't know if we were asking if it, what her hair color was. But we did get the word redhead. The number 7, well, 13 was heard, right, Grace? 13, the building was finished in 1713, so that's an easy one. The number 7 will show up in one of 3 ways at this location, so I usually wait for a secondary clue. If it shows up in doubles, that's Dr. Ladd's birthday. He was born on July 7th, so that's 7-7. So if we get just a single 7, and we had the name John, did we not?
Yeah.
So John Calhoun, your 7th vice president, is buried on the other side of that wall. So again, we might actually, if I get a 3rd clue, that'll kind of verify that. But the 2 usually, the double 7s usually clarifies for the doctor immediately. And then last but not least, this building served in 7 different wars and 1 rebellion. So if it gives us one of the wars, obviously with the number 7, then I get excited about that. But again, right now, the name John being so common, I still want something as a 3rd clue to really verify that it was something coming from John Calhoun himself. Simply because we don't normally hear much from him until it's the month of March, because he was born in March and died in March. So take that for what it is. Let's cover the very quick answers of the Anne Bonny questions, and then I will tell you about our last space that we're going to. So, Anne Bonny, one of the few pictures you can find of this young lady where she actually has a shirt on. The reason why is because she used to bare a breast to show men that they were just killed by a woman. You have to remember, she's dressed in pirate men clothes. So again, bearing a breast shows a guy that he was just killed by a woman. She thought that was a big deal. Look, she was a badass even back then. And I do get a lot of teenage boys on this tour, and I don't need angry moms going home. So that's why I show this particular picture. The names of her parents, William Cormack, Mary Brennan. This was not another subliminal trick with the name Mary. We just happen to have 2 in the same story. So Mary Reed from the ship. Mary Brennan was actually a servant for the Cormack family. So that's a whole nother 30-minute scandal that we're just not going to cover. I'm just showing off how much research I do on this stuff for you guys. I also show you what Calico Jack looked like, simply because everybody wants to see what they based Johnny Depp off of. And it is absolutely hysterical once you see it and why they named him that. Calico Jack was named that because of the jackets that he wore. They came from British captains that he killed. His father was a tailor, so textiles were important to him. Calico Jack basically means fancy jacket. That's where the name comes from. The name of his ship was called the Kingston. I do not expect the word Kingston to pop up on most of your spirit boxes, except for the one that Ethan has right now. For a Kingston, I like it. It's not spelling out the full word king yet, but I'll be excited when it does. The word king would actually suffice in this location for most of your spirit boxes, simply because we're not going to hear the word Kingston on our normal radio stations. But the word king would actually make sense, not Kingston. So it's like, what color is a big red barn? Blood. So kind of gives you the same mentality. Can we go ahead and put that on mute for just a minute, just until we start walking again? So part of the reason why I give you guys that heated warning at the top of the tour is this is part of the reason is this particular space. About a year and a half ago in the month of September, I brought my group to the back just like I normally do. Same size group, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. The kid next to me starts to pass out. Like he turns white as a ghost and he's literally dropping on me. So I mean, when I say kid, by the way, he's like 21, 22 years old. So I have to pick him up by his armpit so he doesn't hit his head on the ground. His boyfriend picked him up from the other side of him. We brought him to right where James is sitting over there. I got him a bottle of water. He's feeling better. I then tell the story of Anne Bonny that I've already told you. Okay, it's important to know that they don't know anything about Anne Bonny yet. So this used to be the last stop, and I would spread everybody out and say, go have fun with your, tell like 3 different stories here, spread out, have fun. However, those 2 gentlemen pulled me aside and say, Nick, we got to tell you, we are 2 transgender males. I had 2 females dressed like males, just like Anne and Mary in the story. So it makes sense, but it's still unexplainable. These are the things that I see of why I give those warnings at the top of my night every single night and why we started Big John's. So I do get psychics and mediums on this tour a lot, and most of them do not make it past the Pinckney Mansion site with the type of EMF that we got earlier with that 56 and above. So again, and I definitely make sure if I know that they're a psychic or a medium, they are not getting a spirit box that goes in their ear. That's a different type of messaging, and they're already getting their own messaging. They're going to pass out for sure. They're not going to be able to handle it. So normally that's why I have you guys show up early so I can kind of get a feel for everybody and make sure like somebody will slip me like a, hey, I am a psychic. If you want to use any of my knowledge about some of these spaces when I get there, I'm like, okay, cool, you're not getting a spirit box. You're going to get an EMF reader to make sure we're all safe. And they're good with that. So again, I just like to point out why I actually tell that heated warning. Here's what we're doing next. It's going to be super fun for some of you. So I'm going to actually I usually watch you guys through these, and I've only been doing this method for a couple of months, but normally what I do is I take the best person with a spirit box, and we're going to be blindfolding them and putting a noise-canceling headphones over top of their ears. Have you guys seen this on your TV shows? They call it the Estes method.
Mhm.
Some of you are nodding yes, some of you are saying no. And Jenna's like, please don't pick me. So, I'm actually going to take Mimi, because she's been giving us the most out of her particular spirit box. So she's going to be blindfolded. She's also not going to know the history of the space. And then we're going to come back and interview her, as she cannot hear what I'm asking, and she's just going to tell us what she hears out of her spirit box. So for those of you that are waiting for something to happen, this could be your chance. This works on a 30% ratio basis. We're going to pick a secondary person. And a secondary person, because they haven't had much activity out of their device, is going to be helping out. So, Bonnie, you're going to be using the secondary piece, and I've literally only been doing this part for a few weeks. What this is going to do is we're going to put a VR helmet on her, and she's going to have my phone in there using a new app called, and it's going to use AI around us and generate images that have never been generated before using the magnetometer of my phone. So just like your EMF readers that you guys are using out here, anytime that there's any kind of fluctuation with stuff, you're going to see an image, and you're going to describe what that image is, and hopefully it's going to match up to what Mimi's telling us. You guys are all, with your data that you're going to get back, you're going to get back all of the image that Bonnie is going to see in real time, plus we're going to review them before we part ways. So that is actually about a 40% ratio of those images that she's going to see are going to be relevant to that particular space. But, yes, ma'am?
They won't hear like my reaction of it.
Who's they?
What I'm saying on the video. What I'm saying is a reaction when if I see something.
Well, when you get in there, you're going to tell us what you're seeing.
But like I may say bad words and stuff, you know what I'm saying?
We're all big
good.
kids.
Okay,
We got
okay.
this.
Don't judge me if it's something.
We're good. We got this. Trust me. We were basically, when we get to the next spot, you're going to sit on a bench. I'm going to tell the rest of the people the history of the space, so they're all in on what's supposed to happen. But when we come back, I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks of what to expect, and then we're going to go through this motion and see what we can actually get out of it. So you're like, oh my God, what is happening right now? You're like, why was I so good at this?
No, you've been great. You're like, yeah.
So even for the spectators, this is going to work out either really well or really bad, in a sense that nothing's going to happen, and they're, she's going to be telling us a lot of silly answers that don't make any sense whatsoever, and we're all going to laugh our asses off. So when I say something like it's going to be really bad, again, it's a matter of nothing happens. It's just what you told us was too silly to make any sense to the ghost that we're trying to hunt down. So no worries about that. So again, we're all there. We're going to be circled around you. We're not leaving you guys blindfolded and running away. So, but and it's weird. I swear I don't pick women for this blindfold in the middle of a dark park, guys. I promise you.
It's a weird thing.
It's just it happened to happen that way. So, are you guys ready to go blindfold some people and see what happens out of this? Bill's like, man, this guy's really weird. He's screwing the whole time.
You got this.
All right, spirit box is up. Let's get those things up and running. So, Ethan, it's all about you. Let's go up to a park. Let's go up this way. We're going to be circled around you just like this. James is going to be filming the entire thing for you because that's going to be the clearest camera shot that you have. You're also not going to know the history until I give you the data back. So I'm not going to repeat the history of what I'm about to tell them over there. So you're going to have to wait for your family members to tell you if it was a legitimate thing or not. Even though, Bonnie, you're going to be able to hear us, you're not going to know why I'm asking the questions that I'm asking. So you're just going to literally tell us what you see inside the viewfinder. With your spirit box, we're going to get you all set up to kind of see how this goes, and make sure you're at a comfortable level because you're not going to be touching your spirit box once we get everything on you. You want to make sure you're not messing with volume. We have had teenagers try to cheat and turn the volume all the way down and literally ask questions that I'm asking deliberately. So again, I like to make aren't messing with their volume. Yeah, exactly. And I would say like, hey, what color is a bluebird? And they'll be like, blue. I'm like, what's my name? Nicholas. You know, like they'll say like crazy things, and I'll test them on purpose just to make sure.
We're not those people.
I know, but we all want to know. All right, so you guys sit here for 5, and we'll be back. All right, everybody. The rest of you are going to follow me this way. Rob's getting tired. You guys can do this way. So this history, like I said, is going to be very brief. When we do get over there, here's how this is going to go. We're all going to be huddled around them pretty tight. James, you have the clearest camera, so you're going to be giving, you know, obviously you're going to stand front and center and film the whole thing for them because they're going to want to know how this actually went down. So you're filming it for both of them. And then everybody else is going to be watching their devices. We have gotten triple-digit EMF in these locations. So Chris, on yours too, I want you definitely keeping an eye on it. And as far as the loud spirit box, you're going to keep it on mute, so that way I can focus on what's going on with them. All right, so let's kind of go over why we're here. This is a new space. Every year I change this up. I take out one location and add a new one. And it's after Halloween, so I wait till Halloween and I start researching for a new space. First time I came in here, it's November. It's cold. I only had 2 people that night. The young lady using the spirit box heard the name Henry in the year 1828, very specific. So it's kind of like, that's weird. I didn't even know what we were going to find because there's a million monuments in here. I was using the digital word generator that Grace is using right now, and I had the name Tim that showed up on that. This bust is Henry Timrod, born in 1828. So I went, holy shit, there's my ghost. So, did a little bit of research, here's how it goes. He was sick through most of his life. Being born in 1828, well, he was a writer too, you need to know that. He was old enough to go fight in the Civil War, so he goes to fight for the Confederates. Once he gets out there, his comrades realize he's too sick to fight. They sent him home and told him to go be the voice of the war. So they wanted him to go write about what was going on in the battlefield. So he comes home to Charleston, he starts writing poetry. He became known as the laureate of the Confederacy because he was telling people what was going on in the battlefield. 3 more years go by, he has a son. The son's name is Willie. He was born on Christmas Eve, dies 9 months later. Very tragic for him and his wife Katie. 2 more years go by, and his college friend realizes he's not publishing all the poetry that he's assigned to do for the paper he's working for, and says, go out to my cottage in the middle of the state in Columbia and finish working what you're supposed to be. He goes out there and writes his last words. His last words were, beholder of brief mortality, person of short life. And then he coughs, and it lands on the page in a blood stain, and he dies. Here's what I'm going to tell you about that blood stain. It looks like a man writing at his desk. He had tuberculosis, by the way. That was his sickness. So, with that said, they show this book 1 day a year on Halloween at the Charleston Library Society, and you have to be a member to go see it. The internet's beautiful. I'm going to show you all what the page looks like, and then we're going to go talk to Mimi as if she was Henry Timrod. So, kind of get this, kind of watch this group. I don't know which way they're going, but let me show you guys this photograph of the last page that he wrote. And then we're going to go see if we can get some contact with Mr. Timrod. We'll go right to left this time. This is the last page. You can see where the blood stain looks like a man writing at his desk. Yeah, James, no shit, right? To me, this whole page tells the whole story of his life. So, beholder of brief mortality, and then he coughs and dies of tuberculosis right on the page. So, again, not everybody tells this piece of history, and if they do, they normally tell it at the Charleston Library Society. I'll also say that Mr. Timrod is a very shy man. The fact that it's this loud right now, I'm hoping it's going to calm down as I'm giving them their instructions. Because again, he will not give us a whole lot of activity with all of this mess going through us, because we're going to be respectful while we're here. They're not. They're out here on a Saturday night, probably all drunk up. And Chris is like, yeah, I wish I was too. All right, let's go talk to Mimi as if she were Henry Timrod. We're going to go this way.
I know, we got it. Yeah. I think he probably knows what's going to happen.
Batman mask.
Okay.
See now? Stop it out.
And then it keeps on my ear?
Yep. But hold on, don't put anything on yet.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so my phone, just for those of you that are wondering, especially because some of you have asked questions about some of the tech that we're using out here, my phone actually has a magnetometer in it, as does yours. So AI is going to be generated based off of the EMF that my phone is picking up. And that's where the images are going to come from. When we're in an environment like this, we never know what's going to pop up. So far, 42% of the images that have shown up in the past 3 weeks have been relevant to the person that I just told you all about. The other, what is it, 58% have not been, at least to my knowledge. So again, you may see one image, you might see 7. I have no idea how many you're going to see in a 10-minute period. We're only going to keep you 2 under for 10 minutes. I'm going to be watching both of your breathing to make sure. I have had to pull people out of this before because it can be very exhilarating. I will also tell you that the 2 jobs that you guys are doing is meant for one person. I separated it because I normally get people that have never done this before. So you're going to be doing, just imagine like what you would be doing would be also the spirit box, and you would also be watching her visuals. So again, normally this would go all to one person. I'm doing a divvy up this way. It's just so funny that you both are wearing white apron shirts. I swear to God, I did not do this on purpose. And biker shorts. Where are the twins? You had to wear twins. I saw it somewhere. Alright, so once I set up my phone, I'll be sliding it into your viewfinder, and you're going to have a black smoke background on it. So you're going to select everything that's not black smoke. So in very simple terms, if you see a park with 7 people in it, just tell me you see a park with 7 people in it. And we're going to see it because she's going to be spitting off things, not hearing us. So I want to hear more of her, just a very quick, simple explanation from you. We're all going to be looking at the pictures once we're done. Your spirit box, tell us everything you hear, even yes, no answers. You don't know what I'm asking. I might ask her a ghost if I'm wearing a gray shirt. I'm expecting a yes, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So again, you're going to be telling us everything. If you're too loud, somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder. It's going to be James, because nobody else is going to touch you besides a family member. I might have James move in and tap you on the shoulder if you're too loud. Remember that you need to whisper. If you aren't talking loud enough, he may raise your earmuff and say louder. So that way we can get you raised up a little bit so we can capture it on the camera. When it's time to tap you out, he's going to tap you on the leg. That means we're done. So no matter if it's because of you're hyperventilating or anything like that, or the fact that 10 minutes is up. So again, just keep in mind, tap on the leg is done. This means you need to lower it down a little bit. You're just literally, you're going to be able to hear us, so it's not a big deal. So again,
Is it like pictures, colors, whatever?
you'll see.
Oh,
You'll see. And it's not going to be like 3D in your face.
Well, no, like I tried the Best Buy thing on and the gorilla got me. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not like
Have
that.
you ever done
No,
that?
yeah, I have.
Like,
It's not
oh
like
my
that at
God.
all.
Okay, I'm
These
not
are
scared.
2D
I'm
images
fine.
inside of a 3D viewfinder.
Okay, I just don't want to hear.
You're going to be fine. You're not going to scream or jump.
I'm not. Yeah, I just don't whisper. Don't whisper.
No, I want you to talk normal. Most people want to shout when they get the headset on.
Yeah.
All right, so do you have that thing at a comfortable level?
Well, can I put it in?
Yeah, go ahead and put one earbud in. Kind of test your volume for a second because you're going to have both earbuds in.
I want to make sure I can hear you, so that's like.
I'm going to test to make sure you can't hear me. Good? Okay, so take that earbud out. Blindfold on. Then earbuds. Going to probably have James help you out with the headset. So you may have to set your camera down to the side of her because those things can be very tricky when she's blindfolded.
Ooh.
Yep.
Okay, can I put them on? Because I'm weird.
She can, yeah. Well, you need the earbuds in first.
Oh, duh. Okay, sorry.
So you've used it in AR or VR before.
Just that little.
It's okay.
I'm not scared. I'm just scared.
Well, I have to give you instructions on how to get it started. So go ahead and put that over your head, and everything's been sanitized, just so you know. So you have a focus point right here in the center. You can feel me tapping right there in the center in case you need to focus it. My phone might be a little crooked. I touch my phone, hang on. Slide it over. Get better? Okay, so now look down and you're going to see a ready button. Hold it there until it clicks all the way around the circle. 10:55. So now you have 3 circles on the bottom.
Oh, we're at the cloud.
Okay, so look to the bottom. You should have 3 circles. You need the one on the left. It'll say seer. No, you're already in there. So go ahead and look up. Okay, so now you're ready to go. So you're up and in.
When do I start?
Go ahead and start.
And we just sit here.
Yep, don't get up.
Should I look around?
Henry Timrod, I need you to push through and tell us your occupation, please. You know how this works. We're being respectful and quiet, even though the groups around us are not. Please tell us what your occupation is.
That was today. Please along with me.
Henry, push through, tell us your occupation.
Not for me.
Henry, I know it's a busy Saturday, but I need you to push through. I got 11 folks here that want to learn more about you. James, are you recording? Where are you at? Okay. So
Oh, I'm
you're
here.
good.
Yeah.
Henry? Push through and tell us your occupation to prove that you're here, please.
Questions.
We want to go straight into the questions. You want to talk about your family? That's a yes/no answer. Keep an eye on the word list. Who's got the word list generator? Okay, so you're watching that too, and who's got the Ouija board? Okay, perfect.
Guitar.
Guitar.
We already know. Consultation.
Henry, is there a storm coming? Can you tell us what we're hearing right now?
Heart.
Tell us what we're hearing right now from the storm coming in.
Teachable. Charleston.
Henry, you're not giving us anything that makes any sense. Let's talk about one of your family members.
Couldn't give up now.
Do you want to talk about your wife, or do you want to talk about your son? Is Henry Timrod even here? That's a yes/no answer.
No.
Who do we have here?
I don't know.
Oh, you know who you are, and I think I know who you are too, but you need to tell me your occupation.
Complex.
You got an image?
Earlier today.
Who do we have here with us? Give us your first name, please.
Spectrum.com.
Who do we have here with us? You can tell us your name or your occupation. I'll take either one.
Or if you run away.
Can you tell us what sound we're hearing from the church? What sound is that? What sound did we just hear from the church?
Anybody? More drama? Faces loaded. Strong woman?
Who do we have here? Bonnie, no images?
Contracting?
Bonnie, do yourself a favor and look down.
Get my party on.
It says go back. I want to make sure we're on a reset.
Okay. Maybe just like clouds.
Yeah, and it should be just clouds. Now look down again, you should have 3 circles. Look to the left for seer.
This hour?
Who do we have here
Don't
with us?
stop. Grace?
Is Grace here? Is Dr. Ladd here with us? That's a yes/no answer.
Improving?
I'm looking for Dr. Ladd. Is he here with us? No, you moved the
Thanks.
stimuli.
No, that's what popped up.
Okay, so look down for the
Okay.
stimuli until you find that black smoke again. I don't like those flashing lights on my guys.
Drama on the election cycle, 10,000.
Okay.
Offering, will be offering.
And Bonnie, you reset that, right? Like you went
Yeah,
back.
went back and
Crowd?
still has that the line, even after the word's away in the beginning.
Let's try to get Henry back. Henry, we're running out of time. We're down to 3 minutes left. And we don't have any answers from either you or Dr. Ladd. I need to know who's here. And if this is too loud for you around here tonight.
Feel like you're
Is this too much for you tonight? It's a yes, no answer. Henry Timrod. We're going to cut it short if you're not going to give us any answers. We don't have any images from you either.
picking. Fire Saturday morning. Spring.
Of course, Ashley wants to keep popping off. Hey, Henry, we're going to say goodnight. Can you say goodnight back to us? Because you're not giving us any answers, nor have you given us any images whatsoever.
4 guys. HD.
Whoa, cat.
CFM.
There is a
Green
cat.
eyes.
What else is in that picture?
Looks like a tiger, but is that cat? That's it. Paw.
Henry, did you have a cat?
Issues that were
Henry, did you have a cat?
to the right.
I think it's pretty fair to say we need to tap her out. What do you guys think? Not getting a whole lot out of this. So James, go ahead and tap her leg for me. Bonnie, go ahead and take off your headset. That, so you can also see the cat. Alright, so I would deem this completely unsuccessful. We had one answer that was a possibility, but that was also a yes-no answer, so I'm not going to really kind of go into that. This is the picture that she saw, everybody, just so you guys have an idea. It's literally a cat face. That means absolutely nothing to me, Henry Timrod, or Dr. Ladd. So you're probably wondering why I was asking about Dr. Ladd here. The home that we talked about back at the alley, 59 Church Street, is literally 0.3 miles this way. So we've been noticing that Dr. Ladd's been slipping through from time to time, like he'll give us things about the house and things about his sister Elizabeth, because she was a big part of his life. So every once in a while we see him kind of slip through, which is why I was asking questions about Dr. Ladd. I don't know if either one of them had a cat, especially that particular color. So again, that cat kind of looks like, what the hell are y'all doing out there, right? Obviously this picture will be in your guys' data set, but I would deem this completely unsuccessful. Again, I know that's disappointing, but I can't make the ghost do anything. And as I've already told the rest of these folks, the person we are looking for does not like crowds or noise. So normally right, it's been non-stop in here, so I really didn't know how this was going to go. I started with the questions I normally do, and to kind of get them provoked a little bit, we got absolutely nothing. So, unfortunately, did we get any words on there, Grace, that I need to know about besides your name that popped up? Yeah, through the Estes method.
Frigid, warm, tight.
Yeah, a whole lot of nothing, right? All right, so this is where I start collecting devices. Did we get any EMF readings at all?
It was 0.
There's anyone here? Where are we at? Over here? Oh, okay. We'll take an 11. That's something going on. Again, we've seen up to 167 here. So, again, kind of a light reading, but we'll still take an 11 for sure. Again, with this being completely unsuccessful, I'd like to grab something out of the communication. All right, so as I collect your guys' devices, I'm going to take my digital business card and I'm going to pass it around. You guys can scan it from your phones if you want all my contact info. Just make sure I get the card back. It's the only one I have. And apparently James is passing out extra gum. So he's like, I'm out. So my card, again, if you're an Android user, just tap it to the back of your phone. If you're Apple, you got to scan the little QR code on there. So I'm actually going to go right around the horn here. You guys just pass it all the way around. That way I can get it back. What questions do you guys have? This was a really quiet, attentive group for sure.
No, I like this thing. That was like a wire.
It can. Like I said, you got to know your ghost a little bit. You know, this guy's pretty shy and timid. On my Sunday and Monday nights is usually when I see the most. I'll be honest. Like, you know, it's just one of those pieces, and I don't make this stuff up because I'm not just saying like, oh, we didn't get anything. It must be a bad night. All right, so your advice, thank you, sir. Oh, look at you guys being the go trainer all the way around. I haven't looked at the audio yet because I don't time this, guys, other than the 10 minutes that we keep them under, so I'll kind of let you know how much data you're going to get back here in just a minute. Where did you all park? Back where we started?
3.9 miles away. No, we're not on 6th Street anymore. Sorry. My
Wow,
bad.
that's a
That
long-
was a long time ago.
Yeah, I'd say so. So back where we started, the easiest way to get back there is to exit the park this way and make a right. The first stop sign, make a left, and take it all the way to the end. It's like 6 minutes away from here. We didn't go far. We just spent a lot of time together. It's kind of how this works. Next device, I'll take yours. 8375. Did it not show up?
Where? On your...
On the business card.
Oh, I didn't just go here.
I got it.
The number 8 just showed up, Grace. Did you see that?
It just showed up there.
That's Henry's birthday, just so you guys know, December 8th. So just want to point that out. So hopefully we got the number 12 in there somewhere. So that would be a full thing. Actually excited about that now. Finally got something. Thanks, Mr. Timrod, being a little late on the go.